Welcome back to the Imio Student Updates. Today we are joined by Ms. Kathryn Vanover, the director of the Imio Bookstore, and we're going to go through kind of what the bookstore offers, how to get your textbooks, how to get your textbooks in the format that you need them, and the different steps that we're taking with online courses. So Kathryn, welcome on. And first, just give us an overview of kind of what the bookstore provides and what the bookstore is to Imio.
Sure. The Imio Bookstore is owned by Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College. A lot of people don't realize that. They think that we are an outsourced bookstore, but we are actually owned by the campus. So what you can get from the bookstore is obviously clothing, and we have plenty of it. Unfortunately, you can't use financial aid to buy that clothing, but we do offer textbooks, access codes. We offer plenty of school supplies, backpacks, lanyards, drinkware, just about anything you can imagine, we have it right there.
And one of the important things that sometimes people forget that is in the bookstore is testing materials like Scantrons and things like that.
Anytime you have a test and your instructor uses a Scantron or a Blue Book seems to be very confusing for students. You're going to get those right in the bookstore. We always suggest you try to buy them at the beginning of the semester because you can use your financial aid. A lot of students come in there, they're usually only 20 cents, maybe a quarter. They never have that in their pocket. And unfortunately, we don't accept credit card charges unless you spend over $5. So you can't just buy one Scantron with your credit card.
And that's fairly standard at most places in the city of Miami and even regionally. So while you can get your Imio gear, your school supplies and things like that, one of the biggest functions of the bookstore is textbook purchases.
Exactly.
And so I'm just going to go kind of through a timeline. We just wrapped up the spring semester.
Yes.
How do students go about returning textbooks and receiving refunds for those return textbooks?
You know, typically we would be buying books back the week of finals. That's the only time we buy them back. But since we have so many unknowns, what we have chosen to do is we are continuing to buy textbooks back. We have students that are mailing them. We have students that they give us a phone call, 918-540-6027. They meet us out in the parking lot. We go grab the books from them. We ask that you put them in a plastic bag. Make sure you have your student name and your student ID written on a piece of paper. And what we will do is we will go back, we will buy the books, we will then put a credit onto the student's account. And as long as they don't owe us money, the business office is going to send them a refund check.
Absolutely, that's great. And one thing that with traditional book purchases, the bookstore will buy those back at what price point do they buy those
typically
back at?
What you look at is you look at what that book would have cost used, and it's typically half of what the used price is.
Okay. So, and then also, does the Imio Bookstore offer rentals for a semester?
We actually offer a few books that are rentals. In fact, I've got one textbook right now. It's called a Living with Art textbook. It's a rental, and I have about 20 students that have not returned it. It is a very expensive book, and that's one of the reasons why we chose to rent it. Typically, if you were to go out and buy that book, it's around $300, and we rent it for $75. So we have that rental, and we have a few more other rentals as well.
And a lot of that is dictated by the publishers and the cost of those things.
Exactly. A lot of it is dictated by the publishers, especially.
So Imio recently made the decision, or made the decision in late March, to take all June classes starting in June online.
Yes.
We have also recently made the decision that all July classes will be online as well. And with classes being online and delivery of that information being online, how has that changed the bookstore delivery and what resources are available for students?
It's definitely changed the bookstore delivery in that we're selling very few textbooks out of the store. And the reason being is because these students are now able to get that course material, whether it be an ebook or whether it be an actual access code, through their Canvas, through the learning management system. If those students are logging on to look at their course information, they should see a link there that says Redshelf. They should click on it, and that's going to have, whether it be an ebook or whether it be a connection to a other site like Cengage, where they can actually do their homework. It's going to be really easy. It's less expensive that way. So you save a little bit of money as well. And what will happen is probably about June 8th, I'll look at the rosters, anybody that's dropped. We'll make sure that they don't get charged for that course material, and then I'll go in and actually charge them. So students will see a line item about June 8th that says bookstore, and they're going to go, but I never came into the bookstore. Well, you didn't, but you still, that purchase is still handled through the bookstore. So, but yeah, it really is, from what I can tell so far, so good. We have one particular class that we were not able to get online. That was Miss Kurt's class, psychology, just an older textbook. We couldn't get it worked out with a publisher. So we are selling that book online.
And one of the benefits of those older textbooks is they might drop the price.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes.
so if a student, students learn in all different kinds of ways.
Yes.
Many students have an aptitude for online learning.
Yes.
They prefer an online textbook. But what about the students who would still prefer to have a physical copy of the textbook?
Sure. I have one particular course right now, chemistry. Several students that said, oh, I need to hold that book in my hand. And what they have to do is they have to opt out on the Redshelf link in that course, and they get a hold of us, and we will sell them a textbook. You, again, call that phone number, tell us that you want the chem book, and we will run it out to you in the parking lot. So, but yeah, and we can do that. The biggest thing is to make sure that you opt out so that you're not double charged.
And that's and that's a good point. That if you're enrolled in an online class, enrolled in an online summer class, it's important to either check with your instructor or to check that Redshelf link to make sure that you either can see that Redshelf book or opt out of that Redshelf delivery. Because we do have some courses that maybe use open source software or open source resources that they're not necessarily in the Redshelf system.
Exactly. History, for example, is exactly what Jordan is talking about, is one of those classes. But for the most part, you will find most of them right there. The other thing about sticking with the Redshelf product is that you're able to actually go in there and highlight on that ebook. You're actually able to make flashcards. You can search. And when you put that book in your hand, it's a little bit harder to search for something than it is when you're doing it online. So there are some features to the Redshelf product versus that hardbound book. So,
and in addition, those Redshelf books are cheaper because the publication cost is lower.
Right, exactly.
So at the end of a semester, what's the process for those online sections? Do students have to take any actions in order to make sure that...
No, you're not going to do anything when the class ends. Your Redshelf access ends as well.
And that makes it so that if you forget to turn in a book or you forget to return a book, you're not going to be out that.
You're not going to be out that, exactly. You're not. Whereas that rental book that I spoke of earlier, that Living with Art, those students that don't return that book, they're going to get fined for not returning it and an additional fee. So with the online aspect of it, no, you're good to go.
Outstanding.
Yes.
So while there's still several unknowns about the fall semester, our initial plan is to bring students back on campus in a traditional face-to-face setting. What are the plans for Redshelf going into the future with the Canvas implementation, or are we going to kind of see that focus back toward the traditional textbooks?
I think as instructors and as students get to see the Redshelf product full-blown, we've actually been doing the Inclusive Access Redshelf product with all of our math courses for over a year now. I think we're going to start to see more of our science courses go that same way as well. The McGraw-Hill product is where we get our math from. That's where we get a lot of our science from as well. And we will probably start to see some of those science courses also transition to the Inclusive Access. And then you're going to have those other classes that are going to stick with the traditional books. I know English, they like to have their book in front of them. So I do see us, probably sticking with that. But I do think we will see some transition to it. Hopefully instructors will like it, and if they do, then by all means, we're going to offer it to them.
And you spoke a little bit about implementation within Canvas. If you weren't aware, NEO has transitioned from a D2L, Learning Management System, to Canvas. And though that might not mean a lot to you, the way that you're taking online classes or the way that you're enrolled in your classes is going to look a little bit different.
Yes.
And one of the benefits of moving over to Canvas is the tools that are available. So kind of talk a little bit about how Redshelf kind of cooperates with Canvas and the different things that are benefits in Canvas so far.
I haven't seen Canvas. I'm not a student, so I don't get to see what the students see, unfortunately. So I've definitely had some challenges helping them out. What I can tell you again is the Redshelf product is again, there's study guides within that Redshelf book. There are the highlighting, there's the flashcards. You can download pages and actually print them. I understand there's even actually voice to text so that you can actually listen to that book versus having to read it, which I think is a great tool. And you're actually able to download so much of it so that you actually have it. So maybe you're a student that your internet access is sketchy at home. Come to campus, download what you need, then take it home and be able to read it. So there's definitely, I think that's a cool feature. I think the voice to text is another nice feature, being able to download that to your phone and then being able to listen to it as you drive if you're one of those students that are out and about quite a bit. So it definitely has some perks to use the Redshelf product.
And that's certainly critical as accessibility
Yes.
is concerned, where for students who may have trouble comprehending their reading, or
Yes.
maybe they have dyslexia,
Yes.
having a text-to-speech can be
Yes.
incredibly
Yes.
important when it comes to accessibility.
And I will tell you, part of that also stems upon the publisher as well, because basically what Redshelf does is it goes out to these publishers and says, we want your product. And so a lot of it depends upon what the publisher comes back and offers. And as long as we have found this particular semester, as long as those instructors are using a fairly current edition, it's really not a problem to get all those bells and whistles with it. So it's very nice.
And so in your position, what are kind of some of the common questions that students have or may not understand when they come into the bookstore?
Lots of times they don't know how they're going to pay for their books. They don't understand that those very first 2 weeks of class, when you're coming in to purchase your textbooks, you want to come in early and purchase them. One, you want to get them used if you can, and we do sell a lot of used books, but you can charge to your financial aid. We don't have access to, if you've completed your FAFSA, we don't have access to how much you're going to get. A lot of students think we do, and we don't. So if you come in and you tell us you want to charge to your financial aid, now we may ask you, have you done your FAFSA? Because we want to encourage all students to do that. But you're going to be able to charge to your financial aid, and you're going to be able to have your books those very first few weeks of class, which is so important. We see students think that they can't come in and charge, and they come in 4 weeks after classes have started, and you're behind. Come in and get the books early so that we can get your books out to you, and you can be successful.
And outside of the confusion of where the funding part comes in, what are some other kind of questions that students might not be aware that the bookstore provides, services the bookstore provides, or?
I think the other thing students don't understand is that they can come in and get their supplies. You can charge a backpack to your financial aid. You can charge a lanyard to your financial aid. Any of our supplies, pens, pencils, notebooks, paper, rulers, paints, any of that is deemed a need for your class, you're going to be able to come into the bookstore and charge it. And again, it's that first 2 weeks. We usually, about 3 days after the add drop period, we're going to cut people off and say, sorry, you can't charge anymore.
Right.
The other thing is that the standard rule is that 1 week before classes start is when we start selling books. We get a lot of questions is, how can I find what books I need? Again, if you go through your Canvas, and since it's changed, I don't know exactly all the steps, but if you go and look at your schedule, at some place in there should be a place that says textbook information. They click on it, it takes you out to our site, and we'll show you what books are required. I think that's probably one of the biggest questions we get is how can we figure out what books that we need. The other thing is that we do have an online store. You can go to Imio, is it imio.bookstore.edu or it's bookstore.neo.edu?
We'll make sure a link is on the...
Yes, but you can go there, you can see one of the things that we have accomplished this past spring is we've probably got 90% of our clothing online now.
Great.
We have a lot of our gifts. If you're looking for something for Father's Day, we've got hats on there, we've got mugs on there, all sorts of things that you can get. But that's also where you can go and you can see that information about your textbooks as well. So if you're a student that's thinking about coming to NEO and you want to kind of get an idea of what a book is going to cost, you can go to that website. You can go and look at textbook information and say, click on accounting and go and look and see. And give you an idea at least at what you're going to spend.
And one thing that you noted there was putting things online, and that's for current students, it's great to have information like that, have the textbooks, the clothing, things like that. But for even alumni or parents or family members,
Exactly.
Being able to, if you have a student from Ohio and there's, they're on the rodeo team,
Yes.
their family members can go online, go to the bookstore link, and get their NEO gear and,
Yes,
and show
exactly.
their pride.
One of the things that we just did in the last week was we actually put gift cards on there. So they now can buy online gift cards. So if I mailed some out yesterday to a student. The person had someone that was going to be attending, just graduated from high school, wanted to give an NEO gift card and wanted us to mail it. So we took and we mailed it. We did a card up for him, told him congratulations, hope to see you soon, and got it out in the mail to him. So then they can bring that gift card into the NEO bookstore and use it for whatever they want to use it for. Or they can actually use it online now as well.
And that's a fantastic point too, that with family members, say you have a high school who's graduating and you don't know exactly, you're an aunt or an uncle and you don't know what to get them, you can help them pay for their books by getting them an NEO gift card.
Exactly.
Outstanding.
Yep.
Well, is there anything else you want to add about the NEO bookstore?
Just come and see us. We're always open on game day on footballs. We're football game day. We are here here for about 3 hours. I think about an hour and a half before the game starts and about a half hour into. So those parents can come in there and shop on Saturdays if you want to. But just come in and see us. We're here to help you. And go NEO.
And I think that's something that you'll find out about all the departments and offices on campus, is that everybody is there to help you succeed in your online class, in your face-to-face class, whether you're trying to show your NEO spirit or get a blue book for your next exam.
Yeah.
So visit the link that we have in the description below for the online store, or to see the neo.edu portal for the bookstore. You can reach out to Kathryn. She gave the phone number before. How can they send you an email?
They can send me, probably the easiest one to remember is neobookstore@neo.edu.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on the next section of NEO Student Updates.